OP4 is just around the corner, and with it we get a slew of new cards, new leaders to influence our own meta. But how can we see what this meta might look like preemptively? Well, luckily enough, we don't get the sets at the same time as Japan, and they get to play before us. So we're going to look at some of their data and see what our meta might look like in OP4.
It's loading.
Welcome. My name is Loading, and this is going to be our OP4 forecast. So, a couple things. We have this one beautiful website called One Piece Top Decks, where a lot of people can report the results from Japan. We can see how well decks were doing. Right here is just some of the data that they present. So you can see we have Law got 31 wins, Zoro got 38 wins, Newgate, it's Newgate, he got 54. So some of this data, it's nice that they gather this data. There's a disclaimer, it's from various tournaments. So some can be locals, some can be more qualifiers, which is equivalent to like our regionals. And Newgate didn't have the restrictions that he does in the US, so he was a little more powerful per se. I'd say he was a little more powerful, but in our meta with the restrictions, somehow he did better, which makes a whole lot of sense, but I have some theories behind that. It's not super relevant right now. So this data is nice, but I wanted to clean it up and kind of show you where our meta might move from this and how it might differ a little bit. So this little pie chart right here, we can see that out of the total 322 decks that were reported on this website, Newgate was 17% in that meta. We also see Katakuri was 13%, Dofi was 13%. He's one of the new leaders that we'll get. He's arguably the best leader that we're going to get from this set. I don't think anybody else will disagree, and if they disagree, well, it's okay to be wrong sometimes, you know. That's fine. Zoro's still a competitor, 12% of the wins. Law coming in with 10%. Second new leader is Rebecca, coming in at a whopping 6%. Rebecca's a good deck. It's a little harder to play, and I think there's some decks that it just has a really bad matchup against, like probably Newgate. Her herself can't swing as a leader. That's a good effect, and you get 5 life, and she is multicolored. But if you look at some of the lists for Rebecca, multicolored is a strong word. Then we have Big Mom, which, you know, she gets updates just like Katakuri does to her deck list. Katakuri, I think, is just a little easier to pilot, and I think there's a reason too that you just get warned on him. You can swing 7k at a Newgate, which might have influenced why he did so well in that meta. And then 4% we see Ace. My boy gets a little better because the meta slows down, because you have decks like Dofi. Katakuri gets a little more pieces to be more control-like, some better tempo, some better mid-game. The next we see is Nami was 4%. Nami is just a very weird outlier deck. It has a unique strategy, which is it's trying to mill itself. So Nami wants to play Nami's game a lot of the time. So 4%, it's going to be there. People like playing the deck. It's a niche thing. It can grab some wins from certain decks. The next is Queen from the new set, OP4. It's a blue-yellow leader. It gets a lot of cool things. I hear that it's got a pretty good matchup into Dofi, which runs the film package. So Dofi's a very grindy, it's a slower deck, and Queen is too, and Queen just might benefit from being a slower deck, you know, and the slower matchup. So we'll have to see, you know, a larger percentile in our meta in English, but yeah, that's yet to be determined. Next, we have the 13%. So this is going to be all your other decks like Crocodile, Rob Lucci, just anything you don't see on the pie chart that might have gotten some wins. And I'll show that here in a second. Some of the other decks that weren't represented in the pie chart. We just have this right here, looking at all the columns. We can see Newgate had 53 wins, like I showed earlier. Katakuri and Dofi were tied at 43 or roughly around there. Next was Zoro, next was Law. No one's really surprised there. Red is still very, very present in OP4. That's okay. Things might change. And then we have Rebecca, Charlotte Linlin, Ace, Nami, and all those that we were showing there. Makes a lot of sense. You can see how it goes. And then down here is the other decks that, you know, got some wins, but they didn't really make it into the pie chart. But I wanted to still talk about them. We got Blue Dofi. He gets the 10-drop Kaido. He gets Red Rock. Awesome removal cards. So I think he's definitely going to be a contender. Japan doesn't run him as much as the English meta, so I definitely think there will be some people here in the English meta that will try and get some wins with Dofi, and it might show more representation here. There definitely will be a Dofi, film Dofi, but I also think that Blue Dofi was underrepresented over there, and I think we'll have a better present over here. Red Luffy, I guess we can talk about Zephyr. I think people in Japan like Zephyr more than they do in the English meta. And as far as like what he gets in OP4, it's hard to say because all the new black cards are just mostly just Dressrosa. I don't know what sauce they're cooking with. Red Luffy, again, like Blue Dofi, more representation in the US and North America and the English meta. I think he might, you know, see more representation. People are always playing Luffy, trying to be that one red deck that's not Zoro, Whitebeard, or Law. I kind of consider Law a red deck. I mean, I think a lot of people do because most of the deck is red. And then we see more decks like Smoker, Magellan, Yellow Yamato, Isho, the new Isho. I know some people are cooking with him. He's black-green. We'll see if he gets more representation over here. That would be tight. I'd like to see all those new leaders, you know, do pretty well. See the meta shake up a little bit here. I think a lot of people can agree that it's gotten really stale with all the red dominance. And then we have Crocodile, the yellow-purple one, the new one. I think that deck looks a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to try it, but not in the beginning. I'm totally going to be a Dofi player. Moving on. Is the party over for Whitebeard in OP4? Who's to say? The restriction list is still in play in the US. A lot of people are speculating what's going to happen. OP4 comes out, you know, are we going to keep the restriction list? You know, how is that going to shape the meta if we do? Are Rad Beam, Marco, and 9-drop Whitebeard, are they going to be restricted? You know, keep them at 1. Are they going to be banned? Are they going to be put back to 4? We really don't know. So we're waiting to see what Bandai wants to do. If things go how they have been going, Newgate's doing better. So maybe if they keep the restriction, he might just have a bigger win percentage. Or, you know, it could be that the 3 main decks are Katakuri, Film Dofi, and Whitebeard. Which, I mean, that would be a good rock, paper, scissors meta. And at least it wouldn't be 3 red decks in the top. It'd be 1 red deck and a yellow and then a multicolor leader. I think that could be a fun meta. Whitebeard is definitely a card. I know a lot of people are saying they need to ban the leader or there's something else they need to do with the restrictions. Personally, I think some of the problem is how many searchers red has. Vig makes it very efficient. And even though Newgate is at 1, being able to run Whitebeard Pirates and Ezo can grab Whitebeard Pirates, and Whitebeard Pirates can grab Ezo, and there's just this loop that can happen. And you can find the cards that are restricted to Warn, so that restriction to Warn isn't hugely impactful. I don't know if that's the right term, but geez Louise, man. I think everybody could use a break from Whitebeard. Is it still going to be the best deck? Potentially. We're not sure yet. We got to see what Bandai wants to do over here. Are there better days ahead? I think so. You have an option to play something besides red according to Japan's meta, which I think is great. Finally, you know, you have Katakuri, he gets buffs like I mentioned, and then you have the introduction of Film Dofi, which, you know, looks super fun. I've already been playtesting it. The deck runs really nice. So hopefully I would be okay with, you know, the 3 best decks being Film Dofi, Katakuri, and Whitebeard. We'd move back to a little more diversity. Zoros are still going to be there. Laws are still going to be there. There's very dedicated Law players, and I get it. It's a deck that's hard to master, and when you do become a good Law player, it's like, oh, I don't want to venture out from this deck because it's so good. So there you have it. The forecast for next meta looks like it could be some change. Have some change, you know. Whitebeard still might be the best deck. I mean, the leader's so strong. Like, I don't know what you do, you know. That's up to Bandai. They obviously tried to do something, but it didn't work. And they're going to have to do something to fix this, whether it's keeping the restriction at where it's at or changing it a little bit. But I harped too much on Whitebeard. I don't want to make a 10-minute video on the forecast and then I just talk about Whitebeard the whole time. I'm excited to see Katakuri get some buffs. I'm excited for Dofi to be a new leader. I'm excited to see what a lot of people in the US meta do. Like I said, I think Blue Dofi will have a bigger representation. People will try to do VV. I'm sure that leader's not great at the moment, but people will try to crack it, you know. And I really think that there will be like a breakout deck somewhere, not necessarily a tier 1, but maybe like a tier 2. I definitely think more decks in the English meta have a bigger numbers than they did over in Asia, and that would be nice to see because I don't want to have just a mirrored meta, but that's a topic for another video. So with that said, that's our forecast. And what does it look like? It looks like we have 3 best decks for that. I would do a tier list, but tier list, everybody does a tier list, and you can kind of see from that chart what the tier list is. The 3 best decks being Film Dofi, Katakuri, and Whitebeard. Now, the question is, are you going to join the Whitebeard wagon if you've already been on there? Or are you going to go to Katakuri with his new tools? Or are you going to join Dofi? Or are you just going to play something different? Comment below. Tell me what you are planning to play in OP4, what you're excited for, and maybe, you know, what's going to happen to Whitebeard. We don't know. But with that, I will see y'all later. Peace.